Adam, wake up. I had a dream. Oh, a dream. You had a dream, Adam said, realizing what had happened. Now the sound of birds was everywhere. The sun had sipped the darkness away. Adam, it was a wonderful dream. You were in it too. We were moving through the forest on our hands and knees, and we could smell everything. Everything we smelled told us a million things. Then we came to a clearing and we could stand up and walk. Then we began to run. We ran through the forest until we came to another clearing, and then, just like the angel, we just lifted up and we could fly. But we didn't have wings. Eve caught her breath, still feeling as though she were high up in the air. We flew around above the trees. Then we flew higher and higher until we looked up, and there was the moon. It was right there, so close to us. So we stepped onto the moon, and we made a little hut and planted trees that started to grow all over the moon. And Adam, we made birds, just like God makes things, and we made little animals, and we were so happy we had a baby. And we called the baby Adam. He was our little baby. With this, Eve slumped down, almost exhausted from reliving it all. Phew, Adam said. What a dream. How could you dream such a big dream? You're so little, and yet inside of you, you can go all the way to the moon. I don't understand it. But what a beautiful dream it was. Tell it to me again. We could ask God if he'll make us so we can fly like the angel. Eve looked away. We've already asked him. He said he won't. He said only angels should have wings. And I think you need them to fly with. He said we'd be better off without them. Adam looked puzzled. How could we be better off without something? I can understand that we could be better off with something, but not better off without something. It makes sense, Eve said distantly, but you have to think about it for a very long time, and when you do see the sense in it, it leaves very quickly. Oh, Adam suddenly understood. Like looking for a grasshopper or like throwing the biggest, heaviest boulder into the stream. It takes you all day just to get it over to the edge. And when you finally throw it over, glop, it disappears so fast you hardly see it. It must be a thought like that. I'll ask him today. Maybe he'll make wings for us anyway. I'll tell him you had a very big dream, that we could fly, and we want to have a baby on the moon. No, we can't ask him. Not now, Eve said. Why not? He isn't happy lately. He sits and thinks all day. And yesterday I brought him a firefly, cupped in my hands, so he could see it glow, and he didn't look. He just isn't happy anymore, Eve said, and as she stopped herself from speaking, tears came to her eyes. Evie, don't cry. Come on, he'll think of something that'll make him feel happy again. Come on, please don't cry, Eve. I don't think so, Eve said. I have a feeling this time is different. Whatever I do to make him laugh, he only stares at me. And when I ask him why he's staring at me, when I tell him it makes me feel afraid for him and sad, he stares even more. I think... Now Eve held tightly to her tears. Eve, don't be so sad. Adam, I think God is thinking of going away. I don't think we make him happy anymore. Adam took a deep breath. Eve, look. Eve, I'll go and talk with him. I'll ask him if there's something we've done. If there is, he'll tell us, and then we'll make it better. But I'm afraid. It's different. Something we don't understand. Something very different is happening, and I don't understand what it is. He'll tell us, Adam said. He'll explain it to us. I'll tell him how you cry. No, don't. That's somehow got to do with it, but I don't know how. All right, I won't then. But I will talk with him. Eve, Eve, Adam said, tenderly. My lord, Adam said, not wanting to disturb his deep thinking. After the longest time, almost longer than Adam could stand to wait, he said, Yes, Adam. What is it? I'm sorry to disturb you, but I must speak with you. Again, the silence nearly made Adam's legs begin to shake. I am listening, Adam. But may I come closer and sit near you? What I have to say should not be said from this distance, Lord. My heart feels too far from your own for the words to find you. He breathed deeply, as though the meaning of Adam's words added to his grief. Then come and sit beside me. I will hear you with my heart. Have no fear of that. With this, Adam moved through the grass and sat on the ground beside his Lord. Now, God said, speak, Adam. There was such a love in his voice that now Adam felt at one with him again and began to speak freely. It is about Eve. She is sad because she cannot please you anymore. Adam almost told him that she cried, but he stopped himself. She is very sad. I've come to ask you what we've done to make you so unhappy and to see what we can do to bring your happiness back to you. I see, Adam. It is true, I am not happy. I cannot say in truth that it has nothing to do with you and Eve, but it is not something that either of you has done that displeases me. I simply, Adam, I cannot say because I must think a while longer. I wish just now that I could give you the reason to take back to Eve, but I cannot. Please tell Eve there is nothing that she can do to help me, but to put no pull on my heart by her sadness. She fears, Adam said suddenly, she fears that you will go away. Again, God fell into a deep silence. Finally, he said, I have said all that I can say. Adam left the Lord and returned to Eve with no message of comfort. He too was quiet for the rest of the day. Far away in the forest of Eden, far from where the loudest noise could reach Eve or Adam's ears, a great sound frightened 100 birds away. Michael! The Lord cried. The great pounding, beating wings of the angel blew leaves from the trees. Michael appeared in the sky as if from nowhere. I am here, my lord. You called out my name, said the great angel. Yes, I called out your name. Help me, angel. I need someone to talk to, even if I speak only to myself. Through you, it is better than wandering alone through my own mind. I would give anything if you could truly hear my words, perfect invention, but at least play out your deepest concern for me, and I will pretend that your perfect heart can fathom my cries. I am desperate for your help. All that you have given me I will return to you, Lord. Give me your grief, the angel said. I cannot. I stand within it. I am immersed in confusion. Michael, yes, it begins with you. You, perfect, more beautiful than I myself would ever wish to be. A winged pounding of my heart brought to life, a dream come true. And with such perfection can you act as if you think, as if you feel. Yet you are empty of these. You are pinned to the moment and will recall none of these words a second after they are wrenched from my mouth. You cannot look out and perceive me. Even as I speak with you, I am alone in my thoughts. in this crush that I feel as the universe stands in my heart like stone pillars expecting me to support infinity. Is it I, then, who grieve you so, my lord? Asked the angel. No, let me finish what I need to say. You are perfect in what you are. You are a perfect work. And I love you for this, immortal protector of all that I love. Immortal, like myself, brilliant as all the stars at once. You have all of the stars to reason out your every word, and I am full of joy at this. But to feel, Michael, even to grieve, not a billion stars can help you. Not every atom in the universe is enough to let you cry out in aloneness, to know the anguish of being eternally alone so that you could see this conscious being before you and reach out and comfort me in kind. These, Michael, you are too stainless to be able to do. Your song knows no discordance. You are but a perfect thing. For you do not know that you are the eternal emptiness as I know myself to be. I trust that what you speak is true, the angel said. But even in your aloneness, Lord, so too are you everything there is to be. Why suffer with half of what is yours, when you may take all and be returned to yourself? Yes, I have taught you well, but still that is not what I am speaking of here, Michael. Michael, I also made Eve and Adam. But how can I explain this to you? It is the very difference that you cannot see. Adam and Eve, Michael, are different from you. I am not sure of it, I know, but I suspect, Michael, I am beginning to believe. He suddenly held back his tears. I cannot even say the words. I am beginning to believe they are just like me. Michael the archangel was silent. Indeed, his mind had touched all of the knowledge kept in every star before it returned like a great bird holding only this emptiness. I hear your words, but in all of the stars I cannot find their meaning. Do not worry, angel. For you there is no meaning in my words. Only listen, understand that I simply need to let these thoughts and feelings out of me. I will listen then, but I can help you only if your words make sense to me. If I may remind you, Lord, that through me comes the wisdom of all collectivity, and while it is true that I cannot feel what you are feeling, I may recall the wisdom of one who can and give this gift to you. Do not underestimate me, for even in my deficiency, I am not distraught with inexplicable grief, my Lord. Ah, yes, well said. You sober me, but I will thank you not to remind me of my frailty so that I may see it more clearly than I already do. Immortality and perfection of reason without a root into the emptiness, without, in short, a heart, cannot conceive of me. Yet I, old raving fool, have created you as an expression of but a part of me. My apologies, Lord. Please, tell me of your grief. Would you say, then, that Eve and Adam are greater expressions than me? Oh, Michael, if you were free of will, I would be terrified by your question, but you are incapable of turning against them or me. Michael, Eve and Adam. Eve and Adam can see me. They know that they are. In making these two, I have finally connected something other than myself with reality in such a way that these two beings can think and feel and see. And they know potentially the glory and the anguish of this same aloneness, just like me. Michael, Adam and Eve may know and even love me. If this is so, then they are my true children. My children. Again, Michael was utterly silent for a long time. Then they are God. Yet this still makes no sense to me. They are God, too, singular, plural, it makes no difference. Endless emptiness is who I am, and endless emptiness is who they are, too, and will one day know themselves to be. This does not triple the emptiness into three. It, I, or we are alone forever, yet now, these two can see and love me to the same intensity that I love them. To witness one another, to see, Michael, to see. I understand this. You misinterpreted me. It is reason for your grief in this which I continually fail to see. How could such an achievement make you sad? Sad. Sad is no word to use here. Sad. If it were only sadness that I felt, I would be overjoyed. How high above me sadness seems, the belly of a boat, floating playfully. Seen from the bottom of the ocean it plays upon. But why? Michael interrupted. Please make sense to me. Do not misuse me like this. You might dismiss me and take this matter up with a tree. Now it was God who fell into bewildered silence. Dear Michael, he finally said, I am sorry. I will try and make sense to you, since in your need for knowing, you too may feel a kind of pain. The taste of emptiness must at some instance come to you as you hurry down a path of reasoning which leads you eye to eye with something forever unknowable. Perhaps then it is easier for me to confide in you. Angel, I grieve because I must test Eve and Adam, my children, if it is so. And if they can disobey me, if they are actually capable of defying some arbitrary thing which I have forbidden them to do, as you yourself are incapable of doing, then it is all true that there are conscious, living beings like me. At this, God stopped and began to cry. And if they are able to disobey me and thereby prove their equality, though I will be possessed with the joy of it, I must, with all of the courage within me, drive these two, my only loves, away from me. Indeed, by my physical presence alone, I deprive them of what must one day be theirs alone. They cannot stay here forever with me, old ram, lord of their land. No, they must themselves set out on the enormous journey so that they can come to know for themselves that they are God like me. If these, my children, stay here with me, they will remain children for eternity. Call them, angel. I command you, call them to me. Call them now while my mind is clear and I see what I must do before my weakness overwhelms me and the moment rots into endless impropriety and I despise myself forever. Go, angel, but give me time to recall who I am. They must not see me so fallen. They must see me as strong and not know of my frailty until they know of their own and understand. I will call them, my lord. Look at him, the raccoon. He's coming to the stream to drink. Oh, I love the raccoon, Eve said. Oh, raccoon, I'll get him. Adam moved up to the raccoon, and when it was through drinking water from the stream and washing its hands off, Adam gently lifted it and brought it to his arms. He carried it over to Eve. Oh, he's so sweet, Eve said. Look how big he is. Evie, touch him. Feel how warm his fur is. He is hot. She stroked the raccoon's back. Oh, how lovely you are, raccoon. Would you sleep with us tonight? Oh, Adam, to sleep with the raccoon, the three of us all cuddled. I would love to sleep all close to him. He sleeps high in the trees, Adam said. We would have to stretch our arms out all night so he could curl up on them. Oh, you are making fun of him. He could sleep one night on the ground, she said. How heavy he is. Come on, sit on my chest. Adam rolled over on his back and placed the raccoon on his chest. Eve, you should feel his feet. Lay down, I'll put his feet on you. Adam, don't play with him as though he were nobody. Oh, so sweet. He wants to go. All right, I'll put you back. Come back again, Adam said, lifting the animal up to the air and walking back to the stream with it. He set it down on the edge of the stream and returned to Eve. She had stretched out in the sunlight to dry from her splash in the stream. I forgot that he sleeps in the daytime and stays awake all night. We could never sleep with him. We could sleep with him in the daytime, Eve said. I love him. Oh, Adam said, I almost forgot. I made something for you, but you should close your eyes. What is it? Eve asked, closing her eyes and laying back in the sunlight to dry. Oh, wet sun feels so good. Adam hurried to a place in the rocks and lifted a clay sphere. He held it with 2 hands and carried it over to where Eve rested. He knelt beside her and set it on the ground. Open your eyes, he said. Eve sat up, looked around, and then saw what he had brought. What is it? A mud ball? Do I get a mud ball as a gift? No, it is not a mud ball. It's hollow and it has a top that can open, he said. Oh, it's not hollow, Eve said, reaching for it. No, you can't open it. It's to keep your dreams in. You should open it when you have a dream to put in it or to take out. To keep my dreams in? Eve slowly shook her head. No, I can't keep my dreams in it. Adam, I keep my dreams inside of me. I like to keep them there. If I kept them in a mud hollow, it will have all of my dreams, and if it ever broke, all of my dreams would be lost. No, it's a beautiful gift, but I can't keep my dreams in it. Now, show me this hollow inside. Adam quickly grabbed it and opened it up. There, you see? Hollow. If you can't keep your dreams in, then it's still perfect for keeping your little stones in. My stones! Yes, it's perfect for my stones. Suddenly the great wings of the angel began beating the air in all directions. Adam and Eve were startled. Adam, Eve, the Lord wishes to see you. Wash the mud from your face, Adam, and the clay from your feet. He awaits you where the red fruit grow. Michael, fly us there on your back, could you? Evie had a dream that we could fly and... Listen to me, Adam. Walk to him side by side with Eve, and when you see him, let your eyes drink him in as you would in deepest thirst from this stream. With this stern command, the angel pounded his way back up into the clouded sky. Silence held them both, even after the air had settled. Eve finally spoke. Adam, I am afraid. He turned to her. Come, Eve. God told me, fear is only a question. Be happy to see it, and it will go away. Besides, you are much sweeter than fear is afraid. Adam then took Eve by the hand, and together they began to walk into the woods toward the tree where the red fruit grew. God turned toward them when they came through the clearing of pine trees, and when he saw them, the tension in his face suddenly gave into softness. Eve and Adam, forgive me, but when I see you, my heart is happy, yet I have something very serious to say. He moved through the grass, pacing, trying once more to gather his thoughts. He stopped and looked at them. I have called you here, he began, as though he were about to give a speech. Then he faltered and looked confused again. I have called you here to tell you... Forgive my stammerings, a moment to... He quickly turned his face from them. Eve lifted her hand to her lips. The Lord cries, Adam, the Lord cries, she said. God forced himself back into control and turned to them, this time saying what he knew needed to be said. I wish to give you both all that you see. Adam, Eve, to you I give all of Eden and all of the earth beyond, and I give this gift to you to adore, in expression of a small part of the love I feel for you both. But there is one thing which I wish to keep for myself. He paused, looking confounded again, and then in a frantic gesture he noticed an apple tree. And that is this apple tree. I forbid you to eat from this apple tree. Do you each hear and understand me? Is this command clear to each of you? Adam said, It is clear, Lord, frightened. Eve, is this clear to you? Through her silenced tears, she managed to say, Yes. She held her tears back so forcefully that it twisted her face like an infant, and God saw this and turned from her once again. The pain of his love for her was so terrible. At last he said, Good, and it is done. Now I must be alone. But Eve, he turned to face Eve and moved over to her. Have no fear. I have nothing but love for you, sweetest Eve. With his words, Eve fell into his arms, and he held her tightly as she cried. In tears, she said, I love you so much. And I love you, my little Eve. Serpent, can you answer me? After a silence, the red serpent said, I can. Good, God said. I am your Lord and your Master. I have created you for one purpose. When this service is done, I will set you free, to live and mate as pleases you, for you are of flesh, and you will know all of the world of sensuality. But after this service you will have neither need nor interest in speaking, and I release you to your own world. Do you understand me? I do, my lord, the serpent said. That is good. Then listen. I have made you beautiful, and you are the symbol of energy, the servant of all dreams. And I have given you a mind which is brilliant and cunning, and a voice that is filled with charm. And I have done this for your single purpose. You are to wait on the limbs of this apple tree, and when Eve alone comes near to it, you will speak to her. For I have made you so that she will love the looks of you and the sound of your soft voice. Serpent, listen carefully. Using all of your cunning, you are to try to persuade Eve to eat a fruit from this apple tree. Do you understand what I am asking of you? Yes, my lord, I understand perfectly. Good. Whatever brilliance you possess must then come into play. You are to charm her, allure her, even trick her into eating of this tree if you can. For this reason I have given you much knowledge of Eve and Adam, and knowledge of Michael and of me. He lifted the serpent to a low-hanging branch on the forbidden tree. Here, I will put you in this tree. Rest comfortably, serpent. You have no small task ahead of you. And serpent, under no circumstances can you tell either Adam or Eve of this meeting, or of my interest in your part. I forbid you to communicate this in any way, and you cannot disobey me. This I understand as well, my lord. 4 days went by, and Eve found herself drifting back to the grove where the red fruit grew. She sat there, thinking, remembering, trying to understand what it all had meant. Finally, Adam found her. He was wildly excited and came loudly through the forest when he spotted her. Evie, you have to see. The fish are all jumping up the waterfall. Giant red fish. Evie, come back up the mountain You have to see it. Eve was silent and kept inward to herself. She spoke softly, so that Adam could hardly hear her words. I can't, Adam. I want to be alone. But you can't believe what you see. The whole stream is fish. I don't want to go, Adam. Please, let me rest. I would love to see the fish another time. But I can catch them with my hands. 3 if I want, he shouted, too excited even to stand still. Please, Adam, please. I will bring you one. Do not, she said angrily. Let the fish be. They don't want to see me. I am too dry for a fish. I can put it back in the stream right here, and she can swim upstream again. Adam, will you let them be? Let them be as they are. If it were up to you to put fish here, you would never have seen them all jumping up the stream. They would be under rocks and in trees. Look, you'll see. Just peek down here at the stream. More and more and more are coming. They all pile up at the waterfall and swim all the way up. I'll be there. Come when you feel like it. You'll be happy to see them. Adam ran back into the forest and toward the mountain stream. Eve rested back on the grass and returned in a moment to her inner thoughts. She lay there, trying to make sense of it all. But why are you so sad, little Eve? Eve bolted up. Who is speaking to me? She demanded. Well, of course, if it makes you recoil so to speak with a serpent, I am perfectly satisfied to sit silently. You speak? Serpents speak? Is this a crazy day for fishes and things? She held her head to stop it from spinning. Serpents speak. Ah, do I? But only when I am so moved to speak. Perhaps it is more accurate to say, moved from my silent ecstasy by the soundless sirens of your dismay. Oh, I do it so well, and it's my first time. I could wrap around words like this all day. But do all serpents know how to speak? Eve asked, still as confused as in a dream. Child, I am already so bored of speaking about speech. It reminds me somehow of trying to scale up myself, which, in my sweet youth, I spent so many hours in trying to achieve. I interrupted you because you seem so sad to me, but I have no interest whatsoever in discussing my ability to pronounce words in this self-conscious way. I speak, I will say, because the Lord gave speech to me. It was probably by mistake. He hasn't been quite himself these days. Noticed? At any rate, error or kindness. It is happy for me, since now I can verbally comfort you, as in... The snake wet its hard lips quickly, and its near invisible tongue. Dear child, you have not known as much sadness as have I. But what makes a serpent sad? Eve said, hearing herself using words strangely. Please, said the snake, feel free to enjoy your S's, if you'll pardon. But yes, my sadness. Well, really, I am so happy just now. Yet you asked me to slide headlong back into days which for me had no end, where even the dampest, darkest log lay blindingly reminding me of the joy I'd let slither away. No, my dear, I cannot return, but rather let me give some of my current joy to you and end your sadness with my sweet energy. I do not think that you can. There is so much of it. I am sad because things are not the same. God is no longer happy. I have seen God cry, and I know that I have something to do with it, But when we ask him, he won't say what it is. Oh, I am beginning to see why God gave speech to me. Or if not, then it is a happy curiosity, since the answer to your discomfort is very simple. It is that which I overheard not long ago. What? Eve asked, very confused. Now, how did it go exactly? Michael and the Lord were speaking. God seemed more upset than I had ever known him to be. The angel was, snidely enough, in perfect form, and this all-too-cherry fellow managed to irritate even me. But what exactly was it that he was saying to Michael? Oh, please remember! Give me a moment. I'm not used to speaking in this peculiar way. You keep your S's so separate. It isn't easy to put everything between. Oh, wait, I think it's coming back to me. Yes, God was talking about some apple tree. Yes, this very one. What did God say? Now, don't gobble me up, the snake said. I frighten so easily. Let me see. It seems to me that God said that this apple tree was the tree of, what was that word? Knowledge. That's it. The tree of knowledge of good and of evil. And then he was saying something about you and Adam. Yes, you are right. It was that which made him so sad. But I just don't have a mind for details. Sorry. Please remember, please. It means everything to me, Eve cried. Oh, well, in that case, knowledge of good and evil, knowledge of good and... Oh, of course. He said, Eve and Adam have no knowledge of either good or evil, and so he has no one to share his deepest feelings and understandings with. He said he had made this apple tree especially for them, that is, you, so that when such a day came that they would wonder about good and evil and ask him, they would need only to eat one apple of this tree and thereby gain all of his knowledge, but painlessly. He was beside himself, however, because this thought had never even occurred to you. He said, I cannot tell you, Michael, how alone I feel. Without these understandings, they have no true knowledge of who I am. I had hoped that they could be with me almost as equals, but they are just children. They live only to play. He said, his grief at being so alone was more than he could bear. But he forbid us to eat from this tree. If this is the tree of whatever you said, then why would he forbid us to eat from it? Eve asked. Well, perhaps, when was it that he forbade you to eat from this tree? Asked the snake. 4 days ago, Eve said, wondering where all of this was going. Oh, well, then that explains it. Explains what? Explains what? I overheard this more than a week ago. He must have been so distraught, upset, that he decided to end his agony at waiting for you to understand these things. So to relieve himself of the pain of waiting forever for you and being so terribly disappointed in you, he forbid you to ever gain this knowledge. Does that make sense? I don't know. A little, Eve said, still very puzzled. Well, you see, if I'm correct, by knowing that you will never gain such knowledge, he frees himself from expecting and hoping that one day you will take an interest. It's easier, you see, to know that you will never know than to live every day in useless longing for a thing that may never, ever come to be. That way, at least he can get used to the idea of being forever alone and try to make himself a little more comfortable with the fact that all you wish to do is play. Eve shook herself. But now we are forbidden to eat from this tree. He gave us all of Eden and all of the earth beyond, but he is not happy. What good is all of this to me if he will be lonely and sad forever? Eve was near to crying again. But what can you do? The snake said. It's best left as it is, child. Try to forget it. Run along and play with the fish. No, he is so lonely, and it's because we don't know what. What did you say? Good and evil. Good and evil. Do you know what this is? Eve asked the serpent. Well, I have no idea. If I did, then I'd be like God, and he would have someone to talk with. But then why don't you eat the apple? Oh, trying to trick me into eating from your forbidden tree. The serpent quickly came back. Trick you? No, don't you see? It's all right for you. Then he would have someone to talk to about the things he put in this tree. The snake was silenced. Then he said, I suppose I could, but I must confess, how embarrassing. But I can only eat something that's on the run. Though I suppose you could roll an apple past me. Yet, no, it was you and Adam with whom he wished to while away eternity speaking of such things, and I have a slender suspicion that it was not with me. Eve seemed empty inside. Her face was like a vacuum, and the life from her thin, strong body seemed to evaporate into the air. Then he will be unhappy forever. Then inside of her, deeply, in that moment, something irrevocable was resolved forever. No, she said, as if speaking to herself. Slowly Eve stood, and in that same hollow way walked over to the tree. She spoke so calmly that even the serpent coiled slowly back from her. No, he will not be so. He will not be. I don't care. I don't care what happens to me. This tree is now forbidden. It is no matter to me. What is all of Eden and earth to me if he is so sad and alone? Am I to play in Eden forever like a child while he is so lonely? Give this fruit to me. With this, Eve reached for an apple. The smallest of the lot would do. She grabbed the apple and tore it free from the tree. Eve, do not, cried the snake. I love him. I do not care what happens to me. She held it to her tightened lips. Eve then forced open her own lips and bit the apple, shoving it into her mouth with her palm, swallowing it against her own revulsion. She knelt on the ground, then stood again and made herself swallow the forbidden fruit. The serpent, indifferent now, completed in his task, slid slowly down the tree and moved away from Eve into the thick grasses of the forest, no longer able to speak. Only silence now. Eve stood. The expression in her eyes had changed. A terror slid over that pulled her lips downward, tightened the cords in her throat, curled the hairs on her neck. She slowly turned her eyes to look and see. In defying God, she had declared herself. Now she was pronounced, and in this change of mind, so too had all of Eden been transformed in her eyes, for now she had abandoned herself, stepped outside into the cold, and turned to see herself through what she believed to be his eyes. Abandoned then and not at home, she gaped back upon herself mercilessly. She was no longer there to protect her from the terror of herself. In this act, even the trees and the leaves upon the trees and her own body too departed from their oneness where they had forever been. Now each leaf stood distanced, isolated, delineated, utterly separate and alone. Then this is the taste of knowledge. This is the weight and coldness of its hands upon me. Now I see that I have been blind to the boulders that separate each moment from the last. For only a moment divides me from who and where I was before. Yet with all of my strength and longing, I cannot break through time and go back. Eve shouted out, "I am here, my lord! I am here with you!" A moment passed. She grew coldly calm again. But now, am I here as your enemy? For you cannot welcome me. Now I know that your love sweetened and thickened the air into oneness, melted all of Eden into a happy dream. This coldness that I feel, and even the trees can see the sight and feel of your love withdrawn. How will I face you in this new way? Eve suddenly ran to the fig tree and began tearing leaves from it. "Do not hold yourself back from me. Trees, do not abandon me. I was your friend," she cried. "I was your friend, my trees." She fell to her knees, and with her hands Eve dug into the wet earth until her hands were filled with mud. She smeared the mud over her body, crying savagely, pressing the fig leaves to her breasts, her legs, covering even her face in mud, trying to stick the leaves back onto her body. But as hard as she tried, they fell indifferently away. "The trees will not be one with me again. They will not cling to me. Please only cling to me as if it is, as it always was. Pretend that we are one again." In an instant, Eve stopped her wild thrashing. Her tears were as if they had never occurred. Her eyes were alert, wide, stilled by some other thought, as if a glacier had frozen all of the land within. No anger that you could release could compare to this horrid separate solidity. The trees have pulled themselves apart. They stand back. I am lost here and alone. Then, is this single fruit our wedding feast, my lord? Are we wed forever, yet in this most horrible way? Speak of this for eternity? He shall never speak to me again. Feed this to laughter, oh, my love, my lord. Do not take pity on me. Banish me from paradise, where now every single leaf reminds me of what I used to be, to you and to me. A rage now moved through her. Remove these trees from my sight. Cover the grass with mud. Hide the ferns from my eyes. Smear them over with hot slurry so that I will not recognize nor recall the sweetness of who and where I used to be. Drive me from the birds. Stop their song and fill the air with tigers' roar. Turn the sweet air into a stench so that nothing will from this day on remind me of how we used to be. Oh, Lord, do this if you hold the smallest part of love for me. I cannot bear eternity without you. Evie, you have to come see. The fish are making eggs, millions and millions and millions of eggs. They're giving up their lives to have their eggs. Hurry, Eve. Adam, I have eaten of this tree. Adam stopped. His face was forgotten. He simply looked at her. It was an act of taking in the look of her, without a thought or a feeling behind his eyes. After this silence had held the two for the longest time, He weakly lifted his hand to her. "Then give this fruit to me," he said. He was woozy. He shifted slightly from side to side, like a tree in a soft breeze. "No, it is my decision alone. Go back to your fish. I do not care what happens to me." At first Adam spoke calmly. As he spoke, however, an anger slowly began to grow within him. "Eve, my Eve, do you think that I would let you face the Lord with this all alone? Oh, Eve, but why? Why, Eve, why?" Now Adam was shouting in sudden rage. "Is there an answer inside of you as big as what you have done? Did you not remember all that was given and what tiny thing held back? Is there not enough fruit in all of Eden to satisfy some hunger that I know nothing about? How could you do this thing? Eve, answer me, answer me." "I am going now to tell the Lord. I am going alone," she stated. "Eve, give this fruit to me," Adam said, storming over to the apple tree and tearing an apple from it. Eve ran to him and grabbed the apple. They struggled uncontrollably, screaming at one another. "No, Adam, you are hurting me. Give it back. Don't do it. Adam, do not come to this terrible place. God, please stop him. Adam, no, no." Eve fell to the ground in a wash of tears. Adam bit into the apple angrily, determined, and forced himself to swallow it piece by piece. Eve lay on the ground, devastated, sobbing without a will to stop herself. Soon her sobbing changed to soft whimpering. After Adam had eaten the apple, he too stared out at the strange world he had entered into. He gazed upon it, stunned. Waves of his own separateness washed over him, settling into his belly like a tide pool. Hungry anemones felt of each wave, searching it for meaning. Eventually he turned to Eve. "Eve," he said tenderly. "Eve, please don't cry. I have come here to be with you. But now I see you and even myself so differently. And all that surrounds me. How can I explain what I see? And this pressure, this weight, presses down on my body, hot and heavy, pressing me into separateness from all that I have always been, that I forever thought myself to be. What hot and heavy dream have we come into, Eve? A solidified dream. That little cave like the inside of your hollow bowl, where you and I and trees and streams stood always flat around me. That happy bubble has burst, and I am inside out. All the trees now point fingers out at me. Eve, where are we? Has all of Eden broken into little pieces of a million separate distances between myself and all that I can see? Oh, and now all that is where it stands, so longingly, so roundedly, and even the sound of my own voice takes such time to return that I am again and again reminded that I stand here alone. What has happened to eternity? Listen, Eve, listen. Even the birds are in their separate places, where no other bird can be, and every leaf of every tree now holds separate its flat hands, so as not to touch. Oh, Eve, where have we come? Which way could Eden be? And even the ground seems so far away from me. I am so high above it that infinity keeps our distance set. It would take forever to travel so far down to the ground below. And Eve, you look so different to me. You look so alone and far away that my fear of this place leaves me, and everything that I am aches to reach across this space and comfort you. If fear dares come near you, I will stand in fear's way. Eve, I too have eaten from this tree. And for giving me this sight of you, I say that it is a good tree. Eve, by what I now can see, have no fear. I now know that God cannot stop himself from loving you. It is true, my Eve. This same love I now feel for you is as big and deep as his. Eve, smile with me. Laugh with me. Whatever will come of this, I love him still for giving us all of Eden and all of earth, and you, and this sad, yet so much sweeter tree.